Hello, everybody. It's Marcy from wavesofcommunication.com. The information in this show is designed to equip and empower parents to take action today. Parents are advised to never give away your power as your child's language facilitator to any therapist, teacher, consultant, or even to a specific method or strategy. Most importantly, the strategies and advice provided here are general and not intended to replace personalized consultation. If you want individual coaching and advice, you should visit wavesofcommunication.com to learn how to work with me as a client. Hello, everybody. It's Marcy from wavesofcommunication.com, and I'm back again. Today, I'm going to be talking about 10 tips to help you get into your child's language facilitation zone with them so that you can learn the words they want to say. And when you teach them the things that they want to say, they will learn a lot easier. When you get in this zone with your kids, that's where the magic happens. And this zone, I talked about it a little bit before, and I've done some other videos about it. You can watch those videos to learn more about what it is and how to use it. But actually, as I go through these 10 tips, you're going to learn some ideas anyway. Now, everybody has their own ways to get in their zone. And the zone is the space in your head where your focused attention is, where you want to pay close attention to whatever you are wanting to take action on. It's where your most attention is, where your focus is where your zone is. And we have a lot of time, all of us, spend time by ourselves in our head, in our own zone, thinking about things. And we do that before we take action. And the same thing is true for your child. Now, sometimes that action we need other people to help us take that action. And that's when we take our zone and we present it to other people and we get them to think about the same thing that we are thinking about. So for example, if I'm a late talking child and I want a parent to give me a cookie, I'm going to think first in my head, I'm really hungry and I want a cookie. And then I'm going to take some action to get my parent to also think about giving me a cookie or me getting a cookie so that I get my need met. And that's what happens. A child thinks about an idea, then they project that idea onto someone else, hoping that that person is going to make their wishes come true. Because that's really what needs and wants are, is our little wishes all day long. And we either make them come true with our own action or we project those wishes, ideas onto other people, hoping that they'll help us out. Now, that's what all late talkers do. They train you as parents to look very subtly at them to understand all the things that they are doing to communicate. Because they don't have words to use to communicate the things that they want and need, they use these behaviors. So what I'm going to talk about today is how to get into that zone so that when you're there, you know exactly what your child is thinking about so that you can take those thoughts and ideas and turn them into the language models that you need to use using language facilitation talk. But you can't find out what your child is thinking about, focused on, wanting to talk about and learn how to talk about unless you get in the zone. So here are the 10 tips. And tip number 1 starts first thing in the morning, and that's when your child first wakes up. Right away after we come out of a dream state, we're always in our head. A dream state is thinking in our head. Images, sounds, who knows what's going on in your child's head, but they're in it right then. And if you approach them in a way first thing in the morning where you ease and slip into that dreamy-like state with them, you can get a lot of really great listening and focus going on. Because when your child wakes up, they're not intending to share their zone with you, but they will be open to you joining finding their zone perhaps, as long as you match with what's going on. So when your child's first waking up in the morning and they're a little drowsy, instead of turning on the lights and flicking on things and turning it on starting everything really quick, you want to try to ease into that snuggly time. So have some morning snuggles with your child. And while you're doing that, talk about how happy you are that you're going to have a new day together. Morning affirmations is kind of what you can look at this as, an opportunity to get with your child and talk about the feelings that you have about being in the world with them that morning. Just being together with them. Remind your child from the time they open their eyes that they have a mommy or daddy or caregiver or whoever you are waking them up in the morning, and they know that you are the one who's going to help them learn and get through their day and have a great time and have a wonderful day with them. No matter what happens, you're there to help them learn about their day and grow. So make sure that you do that first thing in the morning. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is while you're getting ready or doing things in your house that are jobs, cleaning, cooking, getting dressed, all of that, play some music in the background. So tip number 2 is to play music while you're doing your jobs. And this music should not be music that your child likes as far as rhymes or repetitive things. It can be popular music, classical music, rock music, anything like that. You just want to have it fairly quietly in the background, whatever music you like to listen to, that you would listen to in the car or something like that. Now, it's very helpful if those songs don't have words, lyrics with them, if in fact during that period of time you're doing language facilitation. Now, how that helps your child get in a zone is in the background, the rhythms of the music and the familiarity of the songs, they call your child's attention to the same thing that you could be doing. Even if your child isn't watching you cook or clean or do the laundry or scrub the floor, they will be listening to the same song that you are listening to at the same time. You might be doing different things, but you're listening to the same thing. And this helps you pay attention. If there is a lyric or a chorus or a part of the song that makes a noise, like a rhythm, like a boom, ba, ba, boom, ba, boom, ba, boom, ba, boom. Like there's always that one special part, a guitar lick, da, 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 da. Those kinds of things. Do make those noises, those musical noises in the background, because you know those are the parts that pop out of the song with your child. And you might not even be doing the same thing at the same time, but if songs are on in the background and they're, loud enough that both of you can hear, and those parts that stick out, you imitate and say out loud while you're doing the thing, it's going to call your child's attention to listen to not only the song, but to you and match you with them. And so then your child knows that you are listening to the same thing that they're listening to. Even if you're not facilitating any language, you're actually focused on the same thing at the same time. And you making those noises is teaching your child how to listen to you. And that's what you really want to facilitate with language facilitation. Once you know what your child is thinking, you want them to listen to your language models. So getting them to listen to the same thing that you're listening to at the same time, that's going to be super helpful. All right, then the next thing is number 3. Oh, this is a fun one, is structured exercise. So whenever you do any kind of exercises where you have to do a thing like a push-up or pull-up, or the examples I used were obstacle course opportunities, circuit training opportunities like you do at the gym and you go from machine to machine to machine, or yoga or any kind of calisthenic kind of exercises where it's sort of watch me do it and you do it with me, where a trainer would be able to model that motor activity and work on it with your child. Now, again, these things have to be super fun for your child. This is just another way that is really helpful for some of my families with especially older late talkers who are not really excited about sitting and hanging out and talking with their parents, but they will do things like work out. They'll use a machine, or they'll do a challenge, and think about like cross training where kids are dragging big heavy things, or stepping in tires, or jumping across things, up on boxes, things like that. Those kinds of activities require an intense amount of focus to really do them right, and kids will focus on them if they're up for the challenge. So that's the trick about this zone reaching technique, is to do these exercises. And if your child likes them, watching you do them, you have to demonstrate everything first, show your child how fun it is, let them rise to the challenge, use the challenge with other members of your family too. So it's a group activity where your child is watching you and other people do the same challenges that they will physiologically do with their exercise, okay? It's great. Yoga, think about how much people are in their head, focusing, meditating, keeping their balance, all of that stuff. It's wonderful for focus. And if you're doing the same activity at the same time with your child, not just you demonstrating and then them doing, you have to be doing it at the same time. Then, while you're trying to stand on one foot and balance, your child is also standing on one foot and balancing. And they're literally thinking of focusing on their physical body the same way you are. And it's easier to know what they're thinking. Whoa, this is hard. I'm good at standing on one foot. I can do this. This move is easy. I'm super strong. Oh, that one's too hard for me. I mean, think about all the things that your child is thinking every time a challenge is presented. They're either going to be great at it, or they're going to struggle with it, and they're going to want to struggle with it, or they're going to want to give up. All of those parts about this physical challenge, this physical exercise, these are wonderful opportunities for you to provide functional language models right there when your child is thinking about the struggle. So it's not like when your child is lifting weights and they're doing, the repetitions of lifting weights, you're counting the weights. You're talking about the struggle. Ooh, that one's strong. Push hard through it. Like a trainer says, feel the burn, all that kind of stuff. That's what you're thinking. That's what the child is thinking about. The burn, the activity, the challenge, the what am I going to do? Like, what is this doing for me? This is helping me learn something, right? That's what it's all about. So physical exercise is a great way. All right, that's number 3. Number 4 is breathing, okay? So breathing together, this is a great way to help your child get in the language facilitation zone. Now, you don't have to do structured breathe with me, big 4 count out, 4 count in. It can work that way if your child will do that, but you can help modulate your child's breathing and get them in the zone passively just by giving them a hug, okay? And what you do is you give them a deep, deep hug and hold them real tight. You can use this strategy when your child's very upset, okay? Or when you're trying to calm them down, or even when you're trying to beef them up. Pull them in close, and then you modulate your breathing, and you talk about your breathing in your child's ear while you're hugging them, okay? Let's take a deep breath in, and you just talk about what you're doing. I'm going to take a deep breath in and let your child hear it. Oh, and they'll feel your chest expand, really pull, belly breathing. So your belly pushes into your child, into their belly. And, deep breath, and then let them feel like how your body changes and deflates, and inflate it and deflate it. Physically, like this, when you're hugging your child, deflating and helping them expand and, their body. So they feel like, because when you hug your child and you rub their back and you breathe like that up against them, you will modulate their breathing, and talking about that breathing. Then you're going to get them together and thinking about their breathing. And thinking about breathing is a great way to just connect with your body and focus. And if your body was worried or thinking about something it shouldn't be that wasn't productive, just this is what I do. If I start to get off on a tangent, worry, I read a comment I don't like or see something that whatever, I calm myself down and focus on my breathing, because I know when I'm done focusing on my breathing, it's like a restart button. And then I can move forward. And right there, when you're breathing together, your child is listening and with you. And then you move into the next activity and your child is already set up to listen. So breathing together is number 4. Number 5 is nature and animals, okay? Watching animals, especially wild animals in nature, but it can work with your pets too. It can even work with fish in a fish tank, okay? I'm talking about watching animals' natural behavior together with your child. Think about and talk about with your child, yes, because you have no idea why animals do what they do, but if you put food in and you see the animal eating, you can guess that the animal was hungry, right? So this way, while you're watching the animals do whatever they do, the unpredictable things they do, you can call your child's attention to the animal and talk about the things they do. And then you can compare those things to feelings and ideas that your child may think too in other times. So you see the animal eating the food. Wow, your puppy, Spot was really hungry today. He ate all of his food super fast. That was nice that we gave him food. He's lucky to have us feeding him. You can facilitate language and your child is thinking about, yeah, you're right. Whenever you get that little bit of eye contact with, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. They're not talking, they're listening, because with language facilitation, we are modeling the language that your kids would want to say if they had the language they needed. It's the only way they're going to learn it is by hearing it from somebody, and you might as well be the one. If you're here in their zone talking about what they're thinking about, those are the words that they want to learn. And then the next time you have these experiences, all of these experiences, and you're using your language facilitation strategies, your child will start to join in to these conversations because you are teaching them the words that they want to say. That's how all this works. That's why this zone is so, so important. Okay, so let's see. We got through looking at animals in nature. That was number 5. Number 6 is prayers and songs with motions that you do. Now, I know there's lots of families that do daily prayers, they say mantras, they even do chanting sometimes with kids. And these chants that are designed to get you in a zone where you are connected with God, right? So that's what it's all about when you are praying and focusing on your intention for these prayers, and you're using motions while you say the words, and they're the same words over and over every time. Even if you are not in a prayer, if you're not a religious or a spiritual person and you don't have any kind of rituals like this, you may use the same kind of repetitive things in your own habit to help you focus. Maybe while you're cooking, you hum or sing or la 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 or whistle, or you do certain movements like twirl your hair, things like that. All of those little habits we have, whether they're intention in a prayer or a song or something like that, or they're subconscious, like you said, whistling or humming, like you just hum when you drive, or you hum when you sing, when you cook, things like that. These are the kinds of things that help your brain focus on whatever you're doing, whether you're using it consciously as a prayer with intention that you have messages you want to share with your divine guidance, or they are your intentions for yourself. I've got to chop the celery this time. Oh, I've got to do it finer because last time it was, Poppy didn't like, there was too big of chunks. I've got to chop it finer this time. All those little things that go through your head. Sometimes you're like, thinking thinking and humming, and then you get these ideas. They perk up in your head while you're humming and thinking. And this is what you want to include your child in. And notice when your child is using their own kind of repetitive mantras, chanting, humming, because they may adopt these things, especially if you use them often. If you do a daily prayer with your family, your child starts to learn the rhythm and the patterns, even if they don't learn all the words. They learn to sit, they learn to stay in the energy with you by doing these things every single day. The consistency of it and watching you have your immense devotion in these moments, your 100% complete effort while you're cooking, when you're in the zone and you're like, if you're a cooker, I mean, everybody has their superpowers of things they love to do. If you're an artist, if you're a cook, if you love to clean, if your vacuuming is your thing, everybody has their own sort of activity they do repeatedly to get in their zone. And some people do it consciously and some people do it subconsciously. Think about what you love to do and think about what your child loves to do. And that helps you, that you choose, that you go to your go-to regulation that makes you feel better. That's why we do these things, because they help us focus on feeling better. And when we focus on feeling good, that's focus. And you want to be right there, especially when your child's trying to focus on feeling good in their heart. You want to be part of that, and that's a very important zone. And talking about how happy the prayers make you feel, how fortunate and grateful you are to have all the blessings that you have from those folks that you, those entities that you worship, wherever you put your focus, that gratitude that you get, that you express, your kids benefit from that, and that really helps you get in the zone. So that's a really important one. Your child learns because you've been doing it forever. They love to be part of that thing. They might not be as good as you are at saying the things, but they like to listen to you, and they like to be in that space because they know you benefit. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it every day. That's why you say your prayers every day, because you benefit and you want your child to be in that zone too. It's a wonderful way to share energy with your kiddos. So don't let them avoid your prayer time if you don't think that they don't want to do it with you or whatever. You find a way to slowly introduce these prayers to your child. If they are nonverbal or they have very little attention and you've just been sort of doing your prayers around whenever they're not available, start doing them during a time when they can watch you. Don't force them to join, but let them watch, because they will really appreciate how focused you are in your meditation. It's really, really important, okay? All right, that's a super good one. All right, so that was number 6, and now we're moving on to number 7, which is usually the kids' favorite. And that is running and jumping for a period of time. These kids, they have energy far beyond what most of us as adults have. And one of the great ways that a lot of people get in the zone is by doing ongoing activity. Runners, marathon runners, and jumpers. I think about running and jumping because if you have kids who are your trampoliners, Valerie, one of my clients who's been with me, her little girl, I think she survived the summer by jumping. Her child she set up the trampoline in the yard, and that's what they did every day. While your child is jumping, they can jump for a really, really, really long time. While they're running, they can run for a really, really, really long time. You can do it stationary on a trampoline or on a treadmill in your house, or if your child likes to run or walk with you, that running and walking, repetitive activity, gets in the same kind of rhythm. Right? It gets your head. You don't have to think. You get so good at that activity that you're not thinking about doing it. And you look at the kids while they jump. They just are happy in the movement. Their heads are bopping around. And they have the energy like nobody's business. All their muscles are firing. Their neurons are on fire, and they're just jumping and happy and jumping and happy. These are the times when your child is in their own zone. If you do these activities with your child and actually physically touch them, hold hands while you're jumping, even letting them do it their own way, or hit high fives once in a while. Try to get your child to connect with you and talk about how they are feeling. Instead of jump, 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 you are jumping. Talk about, wow, it feels good to jump today. You are burning off all your energy, and look how high you're going. Your hair's flapping, and all whatever's happening. Because whatever your child is thinking about during that jumping, because remember, I lost a lot of weight by walking on treadmills. It was almost a run because I have bad knees, I couldn't run, but I walked for a whole hour with headphones on and music going, and I thought about just about everything. I was right there in my head. I wasn't even hardly thinking about this hand's moving, this hand's moving, this foot's moving, this foot's moving. I was thinking about how I was getting my heart rate up, or what I was doing during the exercise, or even when I was completely in the zone, I was thinking about the problems I was solving or the grocery list I had. I wasn't even working. I was just my body was just moving. That's why when your child is doing these repetitive moving activities that are ongoing like that, you talking about the physical thing you see, you are jumping high, you are jumping again, counting the jumping, that kind of stuff. It's not getting in the zone with your child, because their head is somewhere else. And unless you're talking about things, so while your child is jumping, you could bring up the subject for them to think about. And they could think about things, images in their head. So you could, while they're jumping on the trampoline, talk about the ice cream cone you got yesterday at the store, and how it had sprinkles on it, and how she had to eat very fast because it was going to melt in the hot sun. And all of that happened yesterday, but your child's jumping on the trampoline. They're still focused and listening to what you say, and they're thinking about that other stuff, and their body's just moving because they're in the zone, right? That's how you use that kind of movement. All right, so running and jumping is number 7. We still have more. Number 8 is chanting or humming. Oh, so I guess chanting and humming, that kind of goes back with the other one. And chanting and humming can happen deliberately about the subjects that you are teaching. So there's the prayer one, that you actually have the actual chants that you use for the prayer. And then there's the way to use those same kinds of tunes and rhythms and tones of voice. Na 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 na, whatever, the kind of rhythm of the chant, and talk about the current activity. So if your child is not interested in paying attention to you while you're putting their shoes on, for example, and tying their shoes while you're getting ready to go out, you could make a little chant or hum while you are putting on shoes. Tying on shoes, right foot on, things like that. I am tying your shoes now. We are putting shoes on to go outside. Ready to go. Woo! Those little chants and those little rhythms, they resemble the prayers and songs that your kids already know, but they're different. They're functional because they talk about the language that the child is thinking about now. They are not thinking about Peppa Pig while you're putting their shoe on. They're thinking about going outside where they're gonna run and play. So you talk about what they're thinking about while you're doing it using little chants. That's a great way to get in your child's zone. All right, because just talking about what they're doing, like while you're putting the shoe on, is going to get in their zone anyway, but this is elevating it when you add a little chant. All right, number 9 is one of my favorites, and that is to create something together. It can be very little. It can be like a paper wad that you throw into baskets. That's something you create together. Get the paper, wad it up, throw it. That little. If you want to get complex, you can make chocolate milk together. You can cook food. Your child can chop things to help you, make dinner. You can build things with blocks. You can paint things with water and color the whole table, or paint things with paint even. When you create create something together and talk through the actions that your child is thinking about, not the physical, you are painting yellow now. It's like, yellow on top, that's a great choice because it looks like the sun, or, whatever. The reasons that your child makes the choices they make while you're constructing. The reasons you offer them, we don't want to use this one because it's going to be too sour. Why we have to measure and keep things carefully. All of those methods that you need to know to construct a thing, anything. Doesn't matter. Whatever you're creating together, that's going to help you both focus on it. And you want to involve your child not just in the actual creation. You want to involve them in the entire process, gathering the materials, setting up the environment, understanding you have everything you need, reviewing the procedure, watching you demonstrate the procedure, trying the procedure on their own with your assistance, all of the process through constructing something together. When your child is consistently on board to do this thing, that always keeps you in the zone, the entire process. And you're wasting time, you're wasting valuable zone time by not involving your child from the very beginning. Item gathering, or making a list of what items we have to gather, gathering them. The whole process. That allows you to have a far more time than just stick the glue on the paper. Woo, we put all the blue, because teachers will send you with like a one-step activity, prepared, rip this paper, stick it on the block. Where did the paper come from? How did it get torn? Who's going to tear it? Why did you tear it that way? Are you using scissors, or are you doing it with your bare hands? Why is that a better choice for this particular project? These topics are what your child needs to hear you provide language for, and that's going to help you get a lot more zone time. So, all right, let's see. Last one, number 10 is my favorite, nighttime story time. Because just like in the morning when your child is waking up right out of dreamland and they're coming out into the world to share, you have this opportunity to ease your child into dreamland, thinking about gratitude for all the language that they learned together. And while they're in their sleepy little state, using your careful, slow talking, remind them of the wonderful things that you're so grateful that they tried. Talk about their effort, not the solution. You can talk about, the ice cream you had yesterday and all that stuff. But when I talk about gratitude, what you are so happy about really is not that your child is, the output of the words, because that's only good for, a split second. Ooh, he said one word. And then when's he going to say the next one? Starts to think in your head. But when you are grateful that your child is trying harder every day to listen to you, and you are trying harder every day to learn the words that your child wants to say, and you talk about that together before they go to bed, that is what will get your progress going, because your child knows that you're teaching them talking. And if they don't, you better tell them, because you are. And it's just like when you pray, or you tell your boss, or you tell your therapist, I want my child to be doing this thing. You have those goals in your own mind, and you want to fill your child in on, this is what we're working on here. Mommy's here helping you. That's my job. Your job is to try your best. And today you tried so hard. When this happened, I heard you trying. When I was talking about that, I saw you listening. And I know that when you listen more, you're learning. So I am super happy to talk to you every day about all the things that you want to learn, and remind that with your child. And that's the most important thing, because the very second your child learns that you want to help them, and the very first second you use a strategy that works for them, they buy in. They're in. They're on class mommy 100%. Jenny says, we've been using so many of these strategies for the last 10 weeks and are seeing more spontaneous language and way more attempts with social interaction. We are thrilled. Jenny, that's it. It is all about the zone. It's not about sitting down and doing structured things. It's about paying attention to what your child wants to learn about, providing the language that they want to learn with the words they want to learn, with the vocabulary they like, not dry, boring stuff. Use fun stuff. And it has to incorporate the whole process of the whole thing, the beginning, the middle, and the end, right? Laura says, nighttime story time is our favorite because we also take advantage and talk in our mother tongue. Oh, yes, this is an excellent, such an excellent point. Thank you, Laura. We also take advantage and talk in our mother tongue language about what we did that day. She is now spontaneously saying words in our mother tongue. Thank you, Marcy. Oh, Laura, that's great. So that is actually a wonderful bonus tip. Thank you so much for reminding me, Laura. For those of you families who are in bilingual households, and I have one family in my program that's in a trilingual household right now because they're from India and they speak English because they've lived in other places where they speak English, but now they live in Norway, and Norwegian is very, very different than both English and Indian, their Indian language, Hindi. Yep, so it is very important for you to use targeted language facilitation opportunities in each language, one language at a time. You only speak one language at a time in the activity, but in a day, think about how most bilingual families go. Sometimes in the same conversation, people are speaking more than one language, and many times it happens even in the same sentence. So that's going to be challenging for a late talker who's in a bilingual household to learn functional language when parents are mixing up languages. When you use these things, any of these zones, any of these activities, these first 10 ones that I talked about, you choose the language that you want to speak in. And Laura just does all the rest of the day probably in English because I know they live in England, but at nighttime she's getting that other language. And that's a wonderful, wonderful suggestion for families because that is your opportunity to at least start to introduce the language. And Laura, just from doing that, is now hearing her daughter say words spontaneously in their mother tongue because I'm sure they use it other times. I think grandma uses it more than mom. And because they use it in their household, it's really, really important for you to teach your child to do. I think I'm going to go ahead and count my blessings that we finally got through all these 10 things. I'm so glad that there are people joining me today who actually have seen benefit from getting in the zone. And these tips are just going to be helping you reach it more often during the day because your goal as a language facilitator parent is to get in this zone and provide language facilitation models 2 to 3 hours every single day. And when you do that, like Laura is showing and Jenny too, you can help your child learn to use spontaneous talking. It just comes out of nowhere, seemingly, but it doesn't. It comes from ongoing, consistent teaching and learning. That happens every day, all day, when you get 2 to 3 hours a day in. And Jenny, if you're using a lot of these activities, just like Laura and all the other parents following my page, the more time you get in this zone, the faster your child's language will develop because when they're in the zone, listening to you, their brains being programmed, their new language processing system that is elevating and developing and growing is being programmed with this language, and kids want their own. They want to learn what they want to learn. So that's the most important thing. All right, everybody. Thanks again for joining me today, and I will see you all on my next live video. Bye for now. Thanks for listening in today. And remember, there are tons of resources across my Waves of Communication platform to help you get started today on your language facilitation journey. There's more than 200 free videos on YouTube, a daily blog in my group on Facebook, my book, If It Isn't Fun, It Isn't Fun. Teach Your Child to Talk Faster Than Speech Therapy is available on Amazon and Audible, and my coaching programs. And all the details are on my website at wavesofcommunication.com.